Today, we are diving into one of the greatest adventures in human history, the Apollo 11 moon landing. It's this incredible story of ambition, a fierce rivalry, and just unbelievable courage that literally pushed us off our own planet. But here's the thing, to really get it, you have to ask a pretty wild question. How on earth did a global conflict, the Cold War, become the very thing that launched us to the moon? Well, it all starts with the race to space. And let's be clear, this wasn't some friendly competition. It was born out of the high-stakes political chess match of the Cold War. Okay, so picture this. It's the middle of the 20th century, and the United States and the Soviet Union are locked in this massive ideological struggle. Every single technological win was seen as proof that your way of life was better. And space? Well, space became the ultimate scoreboard. And you know what? In the beginning, the Soviets were absolutely dominating. In 1957, they launched Sputnik 1, that little beeping satellite that sent a wave of panic across America. Then, just a few years later, in '61, their cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human to ever orbit the Earth. For the US, this wasn't just a setback. It was a huge wake-up call that demanded a massive response. So that pressure, that feeling of being behind, it led America to make a move that was, honestly, nothing short of an audacious goal. Just a few weeks after Gagarin's historic flight, President John F. Kennedy goes before Congress and basically throws down the challenge of a lifetime. He didn't just say, let's catch up. No, he said, let's leapfrog them. He set a goal so big, so bold, that most of the technology they needed to pull it off didn't even exist yet. And just like that, the Apollo program was born. And we can't forget this was an incredibly dangerous mission. The risks were just immense. And that reality hit home in the most tragic way possible back in 1967. During a routine launch rehearsal for Apollo 1, a fire broke out in the capsule, and it killed all 3 astronauts inside, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. Their sacrifice was a brutal reminder of the real human cost of this dream. But even after that tragedy, the program pushed forward. It had to. And all that effort, all that risk, led to the absolute pinnacle of the entire space race. Mission Apollo 11. 3 men were chosen for this historic flight. You had Neil Armstrong, the commander, known for being incredibly cool under pressure. Then there was Buzz Aldrin, the lunar module pilot with a brilliant mind. And finally, Michael Collins, the command module pilot, who had maybe the loneliest job in history, orbiting the moon all by himself while his buddies went down to the surface. The mission itself was like a perfectly choreographed, incredibly dangerous dance. It all started with a thundering launch on the Saturn V rocket, still the most powerful machine humans have ever built. That rocket hurled them across 250,000 miles of empty space. Once they were orbiting the moon, the really tricky part began. Armstrong and Aldrin had to descend in the lunar module nicknamed the Eagle, land on the surface, and then somehow get back home. And that brings us to the moment, the absolute climax of the entire story. The moment that made good on Kennedy's promise and changed how we see our place in the universe forever. One giant leap. July 20th, 1969. While Michael Collins circled overhead, Neil Armstrong was in the fight of his life. Computer alarms were blaring, and he had to take manual control to fly the Eagle over a field of giant boulders, finally landing with less than 30 seconds of fuel left in the tank. I mean, can you imagine? The entire planet was holding its breath. A few hours later, the hatch opened. Armstrong made his way down the ladder, and as his boot touched the fine lunar dust, he spoke those immortal words. He became the very first human being to walk on another world. Buzz Aldrin came down to join him a few minutes later, and his first words were just, magnificent desolation. But they weren't there as tourists. They got right to work. For about 2.5 hours, they planted the American flag, they scooped up moon rocks, and they set up a whole suite of scientific experiments that would keep sending data back to us long after they left. And on the leg of the lunar lander, they left something behind, a small plaque. And its message, we came in peace for all mankind, really spoke to this idea that even though the mission was born from conflict, the achievement belonged to everyone. After a perfect liftoff from the moon and linking back up with Collins, the crew started their long trip home, having secured a legacy for all humankind. It's hard to overstate just how huge this moment was. An estimated 600 million people. Think about that, the largest TV audience in history up to that point watched it happen live. For a little while, the whole world just stopped and stared up at the sky together. So, why does Apollo 11 still give us goosebumps today? Well, because it was so much more than just putting a flag on the moon. It was this incredible symbol of human ingenuity, showing what we can do when we work towards a single, impossible goal. It blew the doors open on our scientific understanding of the universe. And yeah, it cemented America's leadership in space, effectively ending the space race. But maybe the most important thing it did was inspire a whole generation to look up and dream bigger.
The journey to the moon answered that audacious challenge President Kennedy made all those years ago. But in doing so, it left all of us with a brand new, even bigger question that we're still trying to answer today. After that first giant leap, what is our next one?